NFL that we have to go through. We're going to be talking about Desean Jackson's comments on Twitter. We've been talking about the Redskins name change, which needs to happen. We're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes' new $503 million contract and Cam Newton signing for the New England Patriots. So starting things off, let's talk about the Washington Redskins. What are your thoughts? Because the team name needs to change.
It's been long overdue, in my opinion, and I think you're absolutely right. Like, if you call yourselves the Braves or the Chiefs, like, there's some degree of political correctness there, but you're going to go on a limb and call your team the Redskins. I think that's just... I was so confused when I first heard it, because I didn't even get the reference. I remember asking my dad, like, what is a Redskin? And he's like, well, it's a stereotypical term used for Native Americans, but I'm like, they're the same skin color as me, and I'm referred to as brown. So I thought that was always kind of messed up. And Dan Snyder's ignorance and lack of change has really hurt the franchise.
Resistance to change.
Yeah.
And whenever there's been a controversy or a calling to change the name, he's always just let it all ride out and wait for the wave of the internet to move forward and the news cycle to move forward, and everyone forgets about it, and then he gets to keep the name. But
he talks about heritage.
It's so overtly racist. Just because just because there's precedent for something does not mean it needs to stay. Times change. The name needs to change because it is so overtly racist.
Yeah.
It is so degrading to people who were originally in this country before us. And if something, it's a team name that's directly derogatory toward a certain race, and it just can't. That's not acceptable in any society. It shouldn't be acceptable in yesterday's society, which it was, and it's definitely not acceptable in today's society. So it all started with FedEx threatening to revoke its sponsorship with the team.
Nike.
And then Nike followed suit by taking it down off their website. And then there's the backlash after the name regrew after that. So we have to give credit for FedEx for that, because FedEx restarted the scandal. So good job by FedEx there, trying to spark some change with some monetary value, because one thing that will get Dan Snyder to listen is some actual money. So Dan, starting off, we had newly hired coach Ron Rivera talking about how it was heritage and he didn't want to change the name, and then suddenly he wanted to change the name. So they talk about changing the name soon, next couple of weeks, hopefully before the season starts, getting the whole rebranding, re-merchandising out, because it's going to be a whole ordeal, because they're going to have to maybe change the color scheme, change the logo, change the logo.
Our color scheme is changing. Color scheme's remaining the same, but the logo...
Most likely. But we haven't seen anything official yet. So it's going to require a huge rebranding. So, but to me, the cost shouldn't really matter in this circumstance. It should be about...
It's long overdue.
It's long overdue. Mike Florio's been on this train for a while, refusing to call them by their current name. So we've pulled up a little list of some current suggestions for the team, and we're going to start it off with the Washington Warriors. So this could be taken as keeping the Native American culture in Washington without completely removing it. So I think I'm not sure if they have a panel with Native American leaders on it to discuss the new team name, but hopefully either they find a way to honor Native American history with their team name, or they can pivot completely to a different direction. Mm-hmm. So Warriors. So we already have there's the Golden State Warriors, which had a rebranding to be more neutral and more like warrior as a general term.
Yeah, it's a more broad term, exactly.
It's a more broad term and became a more neutral team with a whole color rebrand, logo rebrand. So that was a team that effectively did it. Oh, and on the lines of teams that effectively changed their names, Buffalo Braves went to the Clippers.
Yeah.
And then, so the next suggestion is Washington Red Tails, after the famous flight team, or the infantry, I don't know how to, the aerial unit in World War II, made up the Tuskegee Airmen. A great story of some heroic soldiers in this nation's history during World War II. Great pilots. I believe they served in North Africa and Italy, if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to switch tails, do a complete 180 on their current name, from going to being blatantly racist to being honoring people of color's history in the country, as well in the nation's capital, honoring the military. And um, so I think that this is my personal favorite on the issue. I don't know.
I
I'll
agree.
I'll let you
Yeah.
talk about the red tails a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I think it does a great job of, like, remember, this is DC's team. This is the team of the nation's capital. So I think it's great that the team that's located in the capital is honoring people of color, the things that they bring, and completely doing a 180 from ignorance to honoring people of color. And then
It wasn't even ignorance at that point. The Redskins was blatant.
it was just straight up racist at that point. And then also honoring our troops, honoring black people, black men in the troops. I think that's great. I think that would be a great choice. But I believe that Dan Snyder has approved the Warriors, so I like that. But I think there are a few other options as well too.
Uh, another one must be red wolves, after the endangered species of red wolves that are in the east coast of the United States.
I had no idea.
So, the red wolves would be it would be an interesting team name. Maybe more just because of the trying to keep the red prefix of the name.
Yeah, I like Red Tails the most.
I like red tails more if you're going to keep the prefix. But if you want to go for like a save the endangered species, because the red wolves are critically endangered, I believe their population is in the hundreds. So, it'd be interesting to pivot there, but they could go with some cool color schemes, go more white and a different shade of red. I think, because I'm not the biggest fan of the current maroon that they have. So that'd be more differing from the current prestige what they have, and so I think that'd be non-controversial, but it wouldn't be helping any cause. So I mean, any current political racial cause.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't be doing any good to fix the problem that they've already created in Washington. But it'd be it'd be a anything be a better name. But so I think Red Wolves is a solid option. And then you're gonna go for like the final one, Warhogs. Yeah, because obviously they had the offensive line, I believe the 80s or 70s, called the Hogs, Washington Hogs. So there's history there. I think the fan base would be on board with that. But again, that one's not even helping any cause. That's not repairing the damage that they've done. So I don't know if you really can get aboard with that name, but I think that'd be a non-controversial one that Snyder could actually go with. Because I don't know. The problem is going to be going past Snyder, because hopefully he sells the team eventually, because he is not a great owner. And then if you want to go completely neutral, Senators, but it would probably require a color rebrand to go more red, white, and blue.
Isn't there a team called the Washington Senators? No.
No, there was the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Hockey, right? Yeah.
But while we're on the topic of teams that need to change names, we want to talk about some other sports teams and whether they need to change their names or not. So, starting off with probably the second most overt name, the Cleveland Indians. At the least, Chief Wahoo needs to go, because
Did they change their logo yet?
I don't think that they
Like
have. I think that's probably still a secondary logo, like the Patriots and
Pat?
The Patriot.
Yeah.
So I think that Chief
that
Wahoo.
that whole branding and that logo, that just needs to leave. It's like highly derogatory.
Like the Braves got rid of Chief Nakahoma, which was
What did they
not
have?
They used to have Chief Nakahoma.
Oh my god.
So that's a good thing that's gone.
Yeah.
So they replaced that with Homer, the baseball. So a very, very non-controversial baseball mascot. So the Braves did something like that, where they distance themselves from the blatantly overt to just subtle, because Braves can be taken as a honoring, or I mean, I'm not one to speak on that issue, but I don't think of that as a very offensive name.
Yeah,
but I could be
it's
wrong
not
on
like
that
the
one.
Redskins or the
It's not like
Indians.
Redskins or Indians, but Indians could use a rebranding, obviously.
Hmm.
So, um, the Blackhawks, I don't think they need the renaming because I think that is a more of a honoring. If you want to go into the backstory of the Blackhawks name,
Team founder was in the 86th Infantry, called the Black Hawk Infantry, and that infantry was to honor Black Hawk, who was a Native American war hero. So there's that. But
more like a Red Tails,
yeah,
if anything. But the logo definitely could use a
yeah.
rebranding.
Doesn't the
To,
logo look kind of like the Redskins?
it does. They have a stereotypical Native American
Yeah.
depicted as their logo. So they could become more of like a Warriors where they change their logo to be
Mhm.
more of a city based where they have the Golden State Warriors where they have the Golden Gate Bridge obviously as their
Yeah.
logo. So maybe the Blackhawks would go with something. I know they wouldn't go with like a bean, but
Yeah.
they could become more generic. And then you have the Chiefs, and let's go with college because the Seminoles with the chant. What is the chant called?
I thought it was similar to the Braves.
It's the same chant. They use the same chant. The Braves, the Chiefs, and the Seminoles all have
FSU.
the same
But they do that
tomahawk
pregame thing.
tomahawk chop.
They do the pregame thing where some dude, Chad from Kappa Alpha Delta, dresses up as a Native American, goes on a horse, and throws a flaming spear into the ground at FSU. That needs to go.
Oh, most definitely. And as soon as we can remove the blatantly racist names and traditions that we have in sports, and as much as tradition, as much as people might like the tomahawk chop, the tradition of we all do it. We used to do it, so it's fun. It's a tradition that we have as a team.
Yeah.
We can't use tradition and precedent as an excuse to keep doing things that are
No.
oppressive and racist and stereotypical. More so stereotypical in that case. So I think that if we can change names of teams, we can have a more open discussion about race in this country, because as we've seen, people of color are not treated equally in this country, and um, I'm all for players kneeling this season. I think that it's going to be. I don't know a player who's not, besides Nick Bosa, probably,
Yeah.
isn't going to take a knee this season. Um, quick topic on Drew Brees. He should have known that kneeling did not disrespect the flag because he has kneeled in the past.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he was doing on Yahoo Finance, but it ultimately, Lefko and I had the same sentiment that this is going to be a good thing because he is going to be a leader for change now.
Hmm.
He's aware of the issues in the country, and he has vocal leaders on the team like Michael Thomas, Malcolm Jenkins, Demario Davis, who have all, and Alvin Kamara, who all have stories to tell Breeze. Breeze has listened with open ears and has been he
Hmm.
as a person who is the biggest name in New Orleans, one of the largest cities, um, can be a voice for change because he has a platform. He has a reputation of
Got
being
the audience.
an audience. I think he could be a real change maker in this country because he is someone who ethically is correct. He's morally he's a great person. Everything he's done in the past, besides those comments which were completely misguided or whatever they were, uh, he has shown the ability to see an issue like Hurricane Katrina or COVID, where he's donated $5 million and 5 million meals using his business walk-in bistro to provide meals for the city, and just being a all right leader and stand-up person in the community to be a voice for change, maybe like Steve Gleason was with the ALS,
Hmm.
because we need more people who have platforms and voices because change only happens when people in power take notice. So I think that inevitably or ultimately that'll be a positive. So
Oh, 100%.
keeping with the same thing, well, not the same thing, but controversial comments and controversial opinions. Desean Jackson, yikes. So
Yeah.
this is a topic that's been talked much about, unlike Breeze. So Breeze was talked about a lot given the current Black Lives Matter, but a lot of players have not stood out against this. Besides the Jewish players like uh,
Edelman.
Julian Edelman, who
Yeah.
has tried to help the situation. So big up Jules.
Yeah, him and Deshaun Jackson sat down, had a conversation for a while, and they kind of resolved that and talked about some of the issues that are pressing in this country and why there's no need for statements to be made like that. So I'm proud of Edelman for that. I think Mitchell Schwartz
That showed a lot of maturity. And then I think that this is
similar.
something that like you look at the Eagles, the hierarchy there. Howie Roseman is Jewish. I think the owner, I don't know the name of him, but I know he's Jewish. So I think that this was something that would definitely be addressed in the organization. But so he was quoting Louis Farrakhan, who was someone who was a leader in the Nation of Islam, who is very anti-Israel, anti-LGBTQ. Quoted him. I'm not sure whose quote it is that he quoted. So he was posting videos from Louis Farrakhan all weekend before leading up to the quote that he posted. But no matter who said the quote, at the beginning of the quote it says Hitler said. So he was trying to quote Hitler, no matter if he was actually doing it or not, claiming that the Jews were going to blackmail America and extort them. So that was so he's been very anti-Semitic over the past weekend. So then, in response to that, apologizing, he crossed out the first and third paragraph and just pointed out and said capital this with below what said the Jews are extorting America and blackmailing them.
Mm-hmm.
So his apology was saying, no, you took it the wrong way. I'm just saying Jews are blackmailing America. No. And he's saying that Jewish people took this the wrong way. He didn't mean any harm. There's no way you can't. I don't know how you're trying to. What's the right way? What is the right way that message is to be taken?
You can't justify that or
there's nothing that can be misguided. There's nothing
connotation.
Yeah.
Nothing for
so
that.
I'll just let you. I'll open the floor up for you to speak on the issue.
There was, I don't really understand his apology. Has he said anything recently about his talk with Edelman?
I don't believe so, but he did talk to a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor, but I don't know how much of that is how much of that is genuine or PR. But anyways, I don't care what it is. I think it's a good step in the right direction because even if it is just PR, he's actually getting to talk to someone who has experienced it. Because in this country, it takes seeing an issue to recognize that it's there. And anti-Semitism is something that you're not going to blatantly see in this country, because it is something that we've tried to work so hard since World War II to eradicate. Because there's been so much history. It's not just Nazi Germany. Anti-Semitism has been prevalent in many countries and empires beforehand. So, I just think that it was. I don't know how you can be misguided or ignorant on what he tried to do, because there's no right way that could have been taken. There's no way that was taken out of context. So it's disappointing, but I think it's a lesson, because inevitably everything's a lesson. Everything. I don't think that we should be canceling anyone, because that doesn't set a right precedent. Which we're teaching people is to learn and to understand that there are issues in this country. And it's not just enough to say that's bad. It's to say, why is that bad? Why do we need to change it? And how can we fix it? And what Julian Edelman did of trying to raise awareness, trying to take him to the Holocaust Museum in D.C. and in return for him to be taken to the African American History and Culture Museum in D.C. because it takes seeing something to understand it. And the problem is that most of us, or not most, a lot of Americans are not seeing it. They don't know someone of color.
It doesn't directly impact them.
Yeah, so as much as you may not see an issue, just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just being ignorant and peaceful and ignorant does not mean the world is peaceful. It just means that you are not doing anything. And as we've seen, silence is the number one problem in this country, because when you are not picking a side between right and wrong, you stand in the wrong. So I think that's where we stand on that. So let's go to a more lighthearted issue. So the Patriots have signed Cam Newton. Well, it's an issue for everyone in the AFC.
Yeah.
Because a healthy Cam Newton and the brilliant Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are going to have a field day in New England. So what do you make of this signing?
So I like it. I've seen a lot of updates on his health, a lot of positive updates. I've seen some workout videos. So it looks like he's getting back, not in his 2014, 2015 MVP form, but still in
He
good
looks like a
form.
beast on Instagram. We'll just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
And that's
I
something that
I didn't
athletes
realize how strong he was either.
I
He's
have.
back.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
strong. Like yeah. I'm really excited for him. This gives Belichick a new type of quarterback to work with. And I think you know what, this one more year for Jarrett Stidham to learn the ropes.
Well, the thing is that I only didn't like him because he was a division rival. Now I've had a division, I can cheer for the Patriots, cheer for them. No Tom Brady. I think
I
that's
don't cheer for
pretty.
the Patriots.
I cheer for the Patriots in Super Bowl 52. So
What about 51?
51, I did as well probably. I've cheered for the Patriots every Super Bowl. I'll just say that. I like the side of it that Patriots win the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is void because no one cares anymore. So I've been cheering for the Patriots every Super Bowl.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm a Minnesota fan.
so Cam Newton. Let's talk about the possibilities of what this can bring to the offense because we see that there's not a lot of talent on the offense because obviously they lost key players like Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown because they were troubled individuals. But we'll see that N'Keal Harry will be able to give it a chance to step up in his second year because year 1 to 2 is always a big jump for receivers. We saw that with DJ Chark last year going from a backup role to a star player over 1,000 yards.
DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley.
DJ Moore, but they were more established. Chark was
Yeah.
more of a nothing to something. But
Yeah.
second year is always a big year for players, and so if he can, especially in the Patriots offensive scheme, but I think that this will be a great experience. So Cam Newton has the ability to take a team by himself, and because you look at the team he took to 2015, his number one receiver was Ted Ginn, who, from a Saints perspective, he should not be a number one or a two. When he was our number two, he had 400 yards. So Ted Ginn should never be number one. Kelvin Benjamin, enough said about him because he was good in his day, but his day was numbered because of his attitude. So,
and then they had Jonathan Stewart as a running back.
Oh, and then they had Fozzie Whitaker.
Yeah.
And then who was the bowling ball they had?
Jonathan Stewart.
Oh, that was Jonathan Stewart. He was fun to watch.
Yeah.
So given a great offensive line, better than anything in Tampa, everything he had in Carolina. Tooney, he's gonna have what's their center the center that got injured last year. That's really good. But anyways, they have great players. Shaq Mason, Isaiah Wynn is going to be healthy this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So that's going to be some great weapons for him. He's going to have guys like two solid running backs, Tony Michel, James White, who we talked about ad nauseum. So then you look at their defense, and if they can maintain what it did last year, I mean, obviously you lost some key pieces, Collins, Van Noy. Who else did they lose last year?
Was Jamie Collins last year, or was he the year before?
They lost him last year. He was playing really well for them last year, and then they went back to – they're not back to – he went to the Lions, back to Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
So if their defense can be half of what they were last year, still a top 10 unit, I mean, with Belichick and other Belichick, I think they can be a great unit. So I think that they are definitely contenders for their conference, maybe for their division, because I think that you look at their additions, you go, what's his name? Andrews is their center. I was blanking on that, David Andrews. So great center. You have a great offensive line. Tight ends, you drafted in Dalton Keene and CSC. Don't know how much about them, but you look at this on paper, and I'm never going to count a Belichick team out. So if you look at on paper them compared to the Bills, I think that it's going to be a very, very similar matchup. But I think that the expectation of the Bills is going to weigh on them rather than the Patriots can always feast off knowing that they're the best. So I think that the Patriots do have a strong shot in this division. I think that Cam Newton brings them a dimension that they're not going to have seen for a while with Tom Brady.
No.
And I think that this is a great move for them. My only problem was this signing happened the same day their punishments for the Cincinnati Spygate came out. So I don't know how much of this is genuine. I hope it should be because Cam Newton on his day is a top 10 player. We saw that in his 6-2 run in 2018-19, 2017 leading them to the playoffs again. So has the ability to carry a roster. So I think, given the chance, he'll beat up Stidham. But I think it's a little bit of a weird coincidence. It was the same day that their punishments were announced. So we'll just see. But I think that on paper, the Patriots have a big upgrade here and will definitely be able to compete on the highest stage again. So watch out, AFC. I'm glad he's not our division anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen him for a while, and like Cam Jordan, we didn't like him when he was here, but now he's gone. We are chill. Like I was
Yeah.
taking him on the Saints, but I mean I prefer Jameis Younger, more potential, but
Yeah.
more. Well, we'll just swiftly move on from that because I think we've talked about that enough. Now we have the
The man
biggest,
in his bag.
the man with his bag, half a billion a bag, Patrick Mahomes. Who would have thought this? Besides, if only I said that in my hot take rambling a while ago, because I think it was our breakout or bust with Pat Mahomes before Ishan was on the podcast where I said
Damn.
that Pat Mahomes has the golden touch and will potentially lead Kansas City to a Super Bowl. So
Said Tennessee.
the Chiefs. I am not having a great day today, am I? I said that Pat Mahomes will lead the Chiefs to a Super Bowl and has the golden touch. So I'll just take my
You and Cliff alike.
Cliff Kingsbury. He was very high, but I mean that's his player. But
Yeah.
let's look at the Chiefs' current salary structure. So let's look at for 2022. So on the books they have Frank Clark for 20 million. I think that's a contract that they're going to have to move because his production does not warrant that current.
Not at all.
Not at all. Um, so then you have Tyreek Hill, who's also on 20 million. So that's a lot. Anthony Hitchens is the contract that's gonna have to move, 13 million for that year. Then you have Mahomes earning 31 that season, which is a lot. But I think it's more backload. So you look at the 2031 season, he's earning 52 compared to his 2021 season where he's going to be earning no, 2021 he's still on his current contract. 2023 is when this contract starts. He'll be earning 42. So for some strange reasons, it goes from 42 to 40 to 42 again. Goes to 42 again. 60 in 2027. 44 in 2028. 45 in 2029. 50 in 30 and 52 in 2031. So
It's an odd structure.
it's a very odd structure. So I think they're trying to backload it a little bit, but I think that they're having that 1 year of 60 million in 2027. So that is going to be a huge hit on their contract. So base salary 10 million, but with a roster bonus of 50 million. So that might be how they're trying to finagle the cap space because if you look at his base salary every year, it is around 2 million. He's in 2024, he is out earned in base salary by Harrison Butker. But that roster bonus is definitely going to be getting a lot. So that might be how they're trying to get under the cap here. But I think hunters like Frank Clark and Anthony Hitchens are going to have to leave. And they're going to have to trade these players for more draft picks. Chris Jones, I have no idea how they're going to keep him. If they can get a first rounder for him, that'll be beneficial. But I think with Mahomes' talent, it doesn't really matter who they have on the roster as long as they can keep him with some decent weapons.
Yeah.
They can score as much as they want. So I think that Pat Mahomes, I think he could have gotten more, but I think that this is not. I'm never going to tell a player to take less, to chase history, to chase records, to chase history, because there's no guarantee, and just get as much money as you can. But you'd also don't want to be remembered as a Chandler Parsons. So I think that Pat Mahomes got a great contract for him, and I'm super happy to have seen his rise and to be on this hype train for the beginning. So I can't say anything greater for my man, Big Pat Mahomes. What do you
You know
make
what you
of the
can
contract?
say? You know what you can say, right?
What can I say?
You can say that you've met a dude that's worth $500 million.
I can say I've met a dude worth $500 million. So I met Pat Mahomes at Super Bowl weekend. Very fortunate to do that. incredibly nice guy. So I have a little funny Pat Mahomes story. So while we were out, we were eating lunch. So we were in this little speakeasy place where it was very down low. So he was eating pasta, and this is the day he won his MVP trophy, and so he was wearing this gray or this beige suit, and
Wait, so you were eating with him?
no, I wasn't eating with him. I wasn't eating in the same room as him. We'll
Okay.
back up a little bit. So he spilled pasta sauce on his pants, and so he had to change suit, and that's why he was wearing that blue suit during the MVP ceremony. So, um, and then so so he's a very humble guy. So when I met him, he was just down to earth, and we just had a normal conversation with me, like some random kid was just talking with him. And he was just super happy and super chill to do it. Him and his girlfriend are super nice. So um, don't hate on her. She's cool. But we were just talking. I was like, oh, you got the MVP on lock. Chubri's already left back for New Orleans. He's like, I wouldn't say that. Like he wouldn't accept anything. He was just super nice, down to earth. We talked football. He said he threw 83 yards one time. So great person. They say never meet your idols, but when your idol is super nice, I think that it doesn't really matter. So Pat Mahomes, great guy, great player, well deserved everything he got. But what player would you give a 10-year contract to? What other players would you think deserve that?
In the NFL?
Uh, any league. Let's limit to football first.
Okay, so that's really, really tough for me. I think because here's the thing: if it's a 10-year deal, there is a very high probability of them not staying all 10 years.
Or being the same player 10 years.
Yeah, like Mike Vick,
Let's
for
pull up
example.
the PFF top 100 and see what you think.
So I would give it to either a quarterback or an edge rusher, and actually I think I would limit it to just a quarterback.
Okay,
I think
let's talk the PFF top 100. Let's do the top 10.
Lamar.
Kittle. Would you give a 10-year contract to George
No,
Kittle?
I don't think.
Aaron Donald.
How old is he?
I believe he's 28.
28. No.
Russell Wilson.
Is he? He's 30 now, right?
I think he's 29, 30, so he'd be around Drew Brees when he ends the contract.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't think so.
I wouldn't give it to him. I think that's too old. I mean,
Especially with his game.
I know players. Quentin Nelson. Would you give him a 10-year contract?
Actually, I think if he does not have injury problems, I think he's one of the few players
that would be
that I would consider.
Because he's 24. He's been incredible for the offensive line. We've seen guards play forever.
Yeah.
And I think that you could get him for a lower price if you did that. I think that'd be a great signing. TJ Watt. Would you give him a 10-year deal?
Is he 24 too?
Yes, he is. He'd be at JJ Watt's age, I think, when he finished. Oh, well, a little bit older than JJ Watt, but
actually, I think so. There's value in an edge rusher. A lot of value in an edge rusher.
Lamar Jackson. Would you give him a 10-year contract? I don't know if I would.
That's suspect, especially given like one major injury, and that could really affect his. That could really affect him given his style of play. Yeah.
You look at Mike Vick didn't have a 10-year career like that. He faded out very quick. I mean, he had a 10-year career, but he wasn't 10 years at the top.
Well, there was that whole incident.
But he didn't have a 10-year stay of being an elite player.
No.
But I just worry that how long does that system last? I feel that it has the ability to last 10 years, but I don't want to hedge my financial bet that it'll be successful for 10 years because, as you said, one knee injury. He's only slid twice in his career. He doesn't slide. He doesn't go down. So I don't think he's going to get injured. I don't hope he gets injured, but I just can't bet on one player. Michael Thomas.
No.
Ryan, I wouldn't either. Receivers should not get that much money for that. No. Ryan Ramczyk, though.
Actually, I think
I would. He's been.
I think so. Yeah.
One of the best tackles in the league.
He's young too. He's very young.
25. I think Ryan Ramczyk would be well deserved of that. Anyone else worthy on this list? Ronnie Stanley.
think I'd need to see one more good year out of him.
Any running backs you'd give it like you get a discount on a running back, but it's 10 years, like a Nick Chubb, like a Saquon Barkley. You get like a
Running backs generally don't last.
Let's say you get $8 million a year for 10 years.
No, I don't think I would.
Julio Jones and Grady Jarrett, close to your heart.
I'm gonna like right now.
Yes, 10-year contract signed today.
Okay, definitely not for Julio. He's 30. And
You don't trust Jerry Rice played till he was 40.
But like, I don't know, Julio's had a history, an injury history too.
What did he have? He had that turf toe that one year.
Yeah. Rookie.
He had that stress fracture in his leg or foot.
And literally like during the combine, the stress fracture. So I think he's my favorite player in the league. I love that dude. I saw him at a hotel once. Waved at me. Beautiful moment. Told a Canadian kid to F off.
Oh, what a great moment.
But no, I don't think I'd give it to a receiver or a running back, to be very honest with you.
Jarrett though?
Jarrett, I don't think so.
Nick Bosa.
Actually, that was the first guy that came to mind when you asked me this question. I was thinking Nick Bosa or Lamar, but then I was like, but then there's some what happens if there's an issue with Lamar. So I think I would give it to Nick Bosa.
I mean, what would you think that money would be around? 18 million or 20?
I think it'd be around 18. I don't think I'd give it to Joey, personally, because of like an age thing, but I think I'd give it to Nick or even Josh Allen, for that matter.
What about a Jamal Adams? Derwin James, Jamal Adams.
How old is Jamal, actually?
I think he's 25.
And I know Derwin is young, too.
Derwin's younger. This is his third year versus this is Jamal's fourth. This is fourth year.
Those are two of my favorite. Derwin James is like my second favorite player in the NFL. Jamal
I
Adams
love that guy. But you saw he got injured last year.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the injury. If Derwin James did not get injured and had even like a Pro Bowl, not even an All-Pro, Pro Bowl year this year, because there are a lot of struggles with the Chargers, I'd give him the 10-year deal easily. But
Danielle Hunter.
Yeah. I really have not watched too much of him, so I can't really yield a decision, but I've heard from the little that I have seen, I think he's good. But back to the Jamal Adams.
Back to Jamal, my bad.
It would depend on the team.
The Jets. You get 10 years and he stays.
I would, but I'd really have to scramble to build a good team around him to keep him happy.
I don't think I would need a good team to be happy. If I get 10 million, I get the bank. I'm fine. Here's a little one. Ranked 38 on PFF's board. The 23-year-old Marcus Williams, graded out as a top 3 safety every year he's been playing.
I think the only two safeties I'd also give it to Minka.
Oh, Minka, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think Minka.
How are we not to Deshaun Watson yet?
Oh, yeah.
That's the easy one. I'd pay him.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't even worry about injury because what he's done, he's proved that he just comes back as a beast the next year.
What about 25-year-old corner Tre'Davious White?
Trey White. Maybe somebody younger like Marshawn or Marlon Humphreys. 35 is a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah.
But I love Trey White. He's on the older side though. But maybe
Imagine
Marshawn
saying 25 is on the older side.
35.
Yeah. That's crazy that we're even thinking of that, just thinking in 10 years hindsight.
But here's an easy one. Tom Brady.
I think so. 10-year, $50 million. Dude's playing till he's 75. Chances are I'm gonna retire before he does. Like me and you are gonna be in a retirement home. And he plays his last game.
No, he's not playing his last game. He's gonna have to die on the field to get off.
Yeah.
Giselle's gonna be signing petitions. Please get my husband to stop playing football. Tell him to pick a city closer to New York or LA. I don't want to live in Tampa anymore. But I think that will do it for today. We covered a couple of wide range of issues here on the podcast, ranging from social injustice all the way to
Tenure
contracts.
contracts.
So I think it's been a good one. What do you think, Ishan?
Oh yeah, 100%. We are. I think we had a really interesting, kind of polarizing podcast today. And I think we touched on issues in this country, issues in sports that can improve, and then things, that are a little bit more on the lighthearted side. It was definitely one of our best episodes.
If you want us to talk about more in racing sports, please check out the Rod Simba interview that we did a year ago, because what Rod did was just we had a really great conversation about black culture in soccer and in basketball, and how rappers and influencers of people of color can help build that brand of soccer and to what it is today with Atlanta United and teams like that and in NRFC. So please check that out. Well, that'll do it for Triple Threat Podcast. I'm William Ezel. Take care.